Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video. And in today's video, we're gonna be digging deep into how Riot actually balances champions in Wild Rift. Now, I find this a very interesting thing to read because I said before how I thought that they would balance it, and I was right. Like, this is exactly the way that they balance it. And now we're gonna further read like actual Riot devs writing how they balance it. So, we fully understand it. And after reading it, I did have some questions about it though, because there's a few things that are still unclear after reading this, but let me just fully explain to you guys how it works now. So, let's get into it. To recap, the goal of the balanced team is to make Wild Rift the most balanced mobile MOBA, right? Like, that's the ultimate goal, to make it the most balanced MOBA. And we really want to make sure all of our champions are viable and to make sure no champion or strategy dominates the game. What we decide to change is dependent on the specifics. A few months back, we developed a balance framework based on the data and feedback we have gathered from the regional alpha, closed beta, and open beta. The framework acts as a guideline to help us determine what champs we should tune. Okay, so this is going to be their framework, right? But keep in mind that the framework is not a hard set of rules that we must follow. Okay, so as there are a ton of edge cases. So basically what they're trying to say is this is like the way of doing it, but sometimes they play around it because there are some scenarios where you have to play around it. I'll show you everything, by the way, in this video. The main statistic we look at for a champion balance is the win rate. Once we identify imbalances, we then use various other data to then help us conduct further analysis, such as average damage dealt per game. Currently, our framework examines how champions perform in different MMRs as well as specifically in 5 meta positions. So basically, first of all, they look at the win rates, and then if they haven't decided what to nerf about the champion yet, they're saying that they look at that they conduct further analysis such as average damage dealt per game, for example. Now I already have my first red flag here, just a tiny red flag. What if you look at a champion like Ziggs? Ziggs is a heavy poke champion, right? And now imagine if Ziggs is overpowered. What are you going to nerf about him? Are you really going to be nerfing his sustain damage? By the way, they didn't do that. They only did it once, but they also nerfed Ziggs' passive. But Ziggs obviously deals the most damage compared to any champion in a game. So, if you look at that analytic, that makes Ziggs broken in that part, right? So I find it a little weird to read such as average damage dealt per game, because you can't really tell too much how good a champion is depending on that, because each champion has its powers and weaknesses, right? Like Garen is gonna tank a lot of damage, Mundo is gonna tank a lot of damage, Ezreal is gonna do a lot of damage, and then you have champions, some champions that are just not gonna do a lot of damage. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, of course, and they know what they're doing. Obviously, it's right. But yeah, let's now actually look at the graphs. So, balancing around win rates by skill. So this is like a tiny graph. Let's take a look. So average. What they mean by 0 to 85% percentile is they mean the ranks or MMRs. I'm not quite sure if they mean ranks or MMR, but basically the percentile of players. So 0% being ultimate beginners, and then 85% being around, like, what is it? Emerald, something like that. Right, like from 0 to 85%, the percentile, they look at how the win rate is of the champion. Now let's take an example of Jace or something. Let's say Jace has like a 54% win rate in, like a 48% win rate in the average percentile, and like a 50% win rate in the skilled percentile, and then a 54% win rate in an elite percentile. As you can see, the champion is overpowered if any criteria is true. If the champion has above 54% win rate, only one criteria has to be true, by the way. If a champion has over 54% win rate in the 0 to 85% percentile, it's overpowered, they're gonna nerf it. If it has over 53% win rate in the between 85 and 99% percentile, between 85 and 99% is around like Diamond 4, I think between Diamond 4 and like Master, something like that. And then the 1% percentile, which is the elite percentile, they also take 54%. But interestingly, even if a champion only has a 52% win rate, but also has a 5% pick rate, so if the champion is picked very often, it's also considered overpowered. And then if we look at the underpowered side, a champion is underpowered if all three criteria are true. So only if all three criteria are true, a champion is underpowered. So if a champion has like a 46% win rate in high elo, and then 50% in the average elo, and then also a 46% win rate in skilled, if we look at these statistics, it means that a champion is still fine. Now, and a good example would be Teemo right here. I am pretty sure that Teemo has a really low win rate in the elite rank, then probably a pretty low win rate in the skilled rank, and then I would assume he has like a 51, 52, maybe even 53% win rate in the average rank. Because Teemo is such a good champion in low elo, but it doesn't work in high elo. But apparently it doesn't matter if a champion has one of these criteria. So even if a champion, and this is very extreme by the way, even if a champion has like a 43% win rate in the elite ranks, so in the pro scene, but has a 50% win rate in the average percentile, they're like, according to this, they're not gonna nerf the champion. So now let's take a look at some examples here, okay? Let's look at some examples. If Dr. Mundo is at 53% win rate at elite MMR, so 53, that's supposed to not be overpowered yet, but has a pick rate of merely 1%, we will probably not nerf him. So if he has a 53% win rate, which we can see right here, if he had 52 and 5% pick rate, it would be overpowered. But if he has a 53% win rate, but only a 1% pick rate, they will probably not nerf him. Then another example, if Master Yi is at a 56% win rate at average rank, so the 0 to 85 percentile, but lower than 50% at skilled and elite MMR, we will probably nerf him. So that's, I mean, no, after they buffed Master Yi, I'm pretty sure he had a high win rate in every single percentile, so they nerfed it back, right? So you can clearly see that this is pretty extreme, guys. This is pretty extreme. If a champ, like, this is the problem with a champion like Teemo, right? Like, many of you guys are saying, hey, why is Teemo not getting buffed? Why is Jhin not getting buffed? Like, I don't know, is Jhin really that good at low elo? But if we take Teemo as an example, Teemo probably has a, you know, a pretty substantial win rate at average MMR, probably not 56, but probably like something like a 53, 54, and lower than 50% at skilled and elite. They're not gonna, or yeah, they will nerf it if it's like really extreme, but if this number would have been 54, they are probably not gonna nerf the champion. So they just look at these three different percentiles. And then another example, Lee Sin, who is a very popular champion to talk about, you know, everyone likes to talk about Lee Sin, and that Lee Sin is way too good in high elo. So let's take a look at what he has to say about Lee Sin. If Lee Sin is at 47% at all MMR, so this is a percentile based on MMR, by the way. If Lee Sin is at 47% at all MMR and has a 3% pick rate in elite MMR, we probably will not buff him. If Lee Sin is at 57% at all MMR, so if he has a 47% win rate at every single MMR, so at average 47, skilled 47, and then elite, you can see elite, the champion has to be under 46% to be considered underpowered. But if he has a 47 and a 3% pick rate, they're not gonna buff him. And then the reason that they're probably not gonna buff him is to not make him broken in elite rank or something. But to me, this seems a little extreme. If a champion has 47% win rate at all MMR and has a 3% pick rate in elite MMR, he should get buffed, in my opinion. But this is what Riot says, and this is what works. So the reasoning that they're giving is high skilled cap champions like Lee Sin can be very punishing when they are strong. So we are comfortable leaving them under 50% win rate. Now let's take another example, Katarina. I am pretty sure Katarina is at a lower win rate than 50% due to this, because high skill cap champions like Lee Sin, okay, now actually I take back my words, because what they're saying here is high skilled cap champions, and what they're trying to say is one tricks, basically, like Katarina one tricks, Akali one tricks. Even if that champion has a 50% win rate, it could be OP, because it's a very high skilled champion, and then if these one tricks are just abusing it constantly, they are gonna get those insane wins. That's why they're saying high skill cap champions like Lee Sin or Katarina or Akali or Vayne, right? Like these high skilled cap champions, or Yasuo, can be very punishing when someone is really good at them, when they are strong, you see? So we are comfortable leaving them under 50% win rate. Okay, makes sense actually. And then if Zaya is at 46% win rate at all MMR, we will probably buff her. So if I assume if Lee Sin was at 46 at all MMR, they will still buff him. So it's not that extreme. But yeah, let's take a look at more because they do have more to say. Balancing around win rates by position. So if we go to the patch notes right here, I want to take Jax as an example. So we can clearly see that, they buffed Jax in one way and they nerfed him in another way. They buffed Baron Lane Jax because his base health regeneration got buffed. His health regeneration growth got buffed. So it's better in the Baron lane because he's going to regenerate more HP. But they reduced the attack speed per stack from his passive, which nerfs him in the jungle. And now thinking about this, let's take a look at this. Balancing around win rates by position. So a champion is overpowered if he has a 54% win rate, higher than 54% win rate, and higher than 2% pick rate in the solo lane. So for example, Darius has a 55% win rate in the Baron lane in general, and then a 4% pick rate. What are they gonna do then? They're gonna nerf his Baron lane stats, right? Stuff that is gonna hurt him more in the Baron lane than is gonna hurt him anywhere else. If a champion has above 53% win rate and above 2% pick rate in the jungle, then he's considered overpowered. In middle lane, in mid lane, 53-2 again. In duo lane, surprisingly only 52.5% win rate and a 5% pick rate. The reason that it's 5% pick rate, by the way, I'm pretty sure, is because there's just not many dragon laners in the game right now. You can see 2%, 2%, 2% here, and then 5% in the duo and the support role. And the reason is because in the duo lane, you basically don't have as many champions that you can pick, right? Like in the mid lane, you have so many champions. In the jungle, you can even go for Camille jungle, or Riven jungle, Renekton jungle, whatever. You can play everything. Same goes for the mid lane. That's why you have 2% pick rate for it being overpowered. But in the duo lane, it's 5% pick rate because there's just not as many champions played in the duo lane. Same goes for the support role. In the support role, however, we can see a champion has to have 54% win rate. Now, I don't really understand why in the duo lane 52.5 is considered too good, but okay. So a champion is underpowered if he has a lower win rate than 46 in the Baron lane. Keep in mind, pick rate doesn't matter for a champion to be underpowered. For a champion to be underpowered in a role, they merely look at the win rate. So in the Baron lane, if a champion has less than 46% win rate, they will buff him. So apparently, Jax had less than 46% win rate in the Baron lane, but Jax had higher than 53% win rate in the jungle and a higher pick rate on 2%. So you can see, Jax probably had a lower pick rate. Jax probably had a lower win rate than 46 in the Baron lane. That's why they buffed him. And then Jax probably had a higher win rate than 53% and a higher pick rate than 2%. So, that's why they did a balance change like this. But did Ezreal really have a lower win rate than 48%, guys? Was that really true? I mean, I don't. So here, basically, they're taking it in general. This is what I feel like might be a little problematic, because here they're not actually looking at MMR. Here when they look at a champion in general, they look at average and skilled and elite. But how about a champion being broken in the Baron lane for high elo and then being okay in any other role? I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Like, what if Jax is broken in the Baron lane only in the elite percentile, right? But then he's fine in the skilled and average percentile. But the role is going to be broken for him in the Baron lane. If we look at examples in the game, like, who would be a good example here? I mean, Jace, right? Like, Jace is so powerful. How is Jace not getting nerfed? How does Jace not have a higher win rate than any, or a higher pick rate than any of these things? I don't quite understand that, but apparently that's true, huh? Let's take a look at some of their examples yet again. For specific positions, we incorporated pick rates as another key statistic, mainly as a way to weed out champions that are not supposed to be played in that position. These framework numbers are subject to change as metas shift all the time. Yeah, that makes sense, because some positions are more impactful than others. The acceptable win rate bands differ from position to position. Okay, so I guess that's the reason why solo and support have like a higher percent win rate because they don't affect the game as much, I guess, as the other rules. Okay, let's take a look at some examples. Some examples of how we use this framework are: if Evelyn mid is at a 54% win rate and has a 5% pick rate, we will probably nerf her mid lane power. If Jarvan support is at a 55% win rate but has a 0.01% pick rate, we will probably not nerf him. This makes sense. Like, I agree with this because a champion is not broken if he's not abused, right? Like a champion, even if the win rate is insanely high, if no one plays that champion, then it's fine. Like, if we look at Aurelion Sol, for example, I mean, come on, what did they do to Aurelion Sol? I am pretty sure, you know, like, I'm pretty sure Aurelion Sol has a higher win rate than like 52%, but he has like a pick rate of like, what, 0.01%? Well, that not that extreme. Probably something like 0.05% pick rate, and that is why they're just not touching him or something. Like, a champion like Aurelion Sol, when is he going to get the love he deserves, right? That's one of those harder champions to balance around, because Aurelion Sol is also one of those hard champions to play, and these Aurelion Sol one tricks are going to be insanely good at the champion if he gets buffed a little bit. I mean, it was interesting to read this, but then again, like, why is there not a thing to perhaps buff champions that just don't get picked a lot? Like, I know that balancing around win rates is okay, right? Like, balancing around win rates makes sense. A champion wins too much, you have to nerf him. But what about pick rates? Like, why don't they look at pick rates? Like, if a champion is never picked, why don't they just bump up the champion a little bit? Just, you know, to make people pick it again. And I don't know, guys, like, only win rate, and also how do they balance the champions? Like we read here, balancing around win rates per position, but sometimes they do very questionable changes. So sure per position, but what about balancing per moment of the game? Like, do you guys remember when they nerfed kill? They nerfed kill's early game, which was literally a useless nerf. Kill was broken in the late game. Don't they have metrics for this too? Don't they have metrics where they see, okay, kill is really bad in the early game, but absolutely broken in the late game. We need to nerf this champion because the champion has a 55% win rate, so let's nerf the late game. Why would they nerf that early game, which is already, like, it's a useless nerf, because kill is already useless in the early game, right? Now back to my point, let's take a look at a champion like Nasus. No one plays Nasus because Nasus is kind of like trash in the elite percentile. Why don't they do some changes to Nasus which makes a highly skilled Nasus better? For example, if they change the way that if you get a lot of stacks on Nasus, you get more bonuses. And lower elo players are not going to get a lot of stacks on Nasus, or are not going to get as many stacks on Nasus as the higher elo players, right? So why don't they try to think of ways to change a champion to make him better in certain roles? Like, I really don't like this part. I really don't like this underpowered if all three criteria are true. I personally, I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff behind it, but I personally don't like that part, because you're gonna have champions that are just gonna be completely useless at certain ranks. And sure, champions like Lee Sin are gonna be bad in low elo. Sure, champions like Timo are gonna be bad at high elo. But is there really nothing that they can change about a champion to, like, you know, make the highly skilled players better at the champion, and then they could even nerf it for the lower skilled players? Like, that part I don't understand. I mean, the system is great. It looks great. It looks like a nice procedure to follow. But that's the one thing that I'm basically missing. Like, how do they nerf a champion? We read a little bit about it here, which is once we identify imbalances, we then use various other data to then help us conduct further analysis. But maybe this analysis is just not always good, such as average damage dealt per game. Yeah, as I said, that, like, if they actually looked at those analysis, why the hell would they nerf Kill's early game damage, right? Because Kill's early game has never been a problem. But okay, enough about that. I just want certain champions to get the love that they deserve. That's what I'm trying to say, you know? Champions like Jhin. Like, what? Jhin clearly is just not good. He's clearly just not good. What am I supposed to say? I have a 60% win rate on Jhin, and I'm telling you guys that he's not good. But maybe the numbers say otherwise. But yeah, I mean, that was me reading through this, giving my raw thoughts. This is basically my second time reading through it, and I don't have a script or anything. So yet again, I might have said some stupid things, but you know, I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was entertaining for you guys to see my reaction to this and yeah, and my thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts on it. You know, I'm doing a skin giveaway as well, forgot to say. But yeah, we'll see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.